BOSS Radio. BOSS Radio. BOSS
As mighty as you say you are, as inferior as you might be, there's no one greater than Haile Selassie. As big as you say you are, with your values and vanities, you will wither away like leaf if you don't give eyes to the king. Jah is the ruler of us all, rich or poor, big or small. He's the light of this world, he never failed I yet. He left her of himself, don't you ever forget. Jah is the master of the planet, yeah. He's the ruler of the universe. Jah is the master of the planet. He's the ruler of the universe. Don't wait until you're in trouble before you call on him. It's the him that rideth up on the heavens by his name. Jah is always the same, yesterday and today, protecting me from the parasites and evildoers in my way. I know sometimes it seems hope is gone, but remember Haile Selassie, who sits upon the throne. His love is everlasting, ever sure. He is worthy to be praised, none after, none before. Jah is the master of the planet. He's the ruler of the universe. Jah is the master of the planet. Yeah. He's the ruler of the universe. Yes. Oh, no, 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 no. Yeah. I know. I know. Oh, yeah. See, I've learned from nature, sweet mother nature. Yes, I know. I know.
BOSS Radio. BOSS Radio.
BOSS Radio, Southside Bosses, its owners and associates take no responsibility for the opinions or statements made by the talk show host or their guests. Statements or show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of the site or the radio station, and opinions between talk show hosts may conflict. This site does not endorse anything as the truth. That you will have to judge for yourself. But we try to speak the truth on the owner's behalf and reserve the right to question the supposed truth. In this time of misinformation, government-controlled media, and government corruption, it is sometimes hard to get to the truth, but we must try. It is not our intention to libel, discriminate, make hate, or annoy anyone. We believe that it is our constitutional First Amendment right of free speech to voice our opinions and our duty to the Constitution and country to expose the truth. This site takes no responsibility for the opinions of others and the postings of comments in chat rooms or...
As Mr. Flavor, I am proud to bring to you Mr. E, the music maestro.
What it is, everybody, what it is, everybody, what it is. This is your boy, Mr. E, boss of the Southside Bosses, coming to y'all live here on Talkin, but ain't saying nothing. You know, the talk show where we be talking about some very important topics, so we ain't saying nothing. And I know that probably gonna go over most of y'all here. You know, y'all don't understand how words are how words are used, and people just destroying the studio right now. So that's how lit we is in this. So you know it's gonna be fun tonight, man. We got some great guests in the building right now here live with us, tearing up the whole studio. You know what I'm saying? We sipping on a little something, something, smoking on a little something, something, sober than a motherfucker over here. One of us, you know what I'm saying? but it's still all in fun, and we got a great conversation for y'all tonight. So I hope y'all are enjoying. Go ahead and like, subscribe, follow, and share us to all your family and friends. Let them know that we are here in the building right now. I'm sorry, I'm over here yelling and you still can't hear me. Let me go ahead and fix that. But yes, make sure y'all go ahead and tune in and turn up. This is BOSS Radio's Talking But Ain't Saying Nothing, and we have some great guests. Like, we're gonna go ahead and let them introduce themselves. We're gonna go ahead and start from my left. Go ahead, sir. Who are you and what are you doing here?
All right, my name's Curtis Reed, and I'm here with the friends and family, just having a visiting time, and we're going to have a good time having some conversation together. Looking forward to it.
Already. Okay, we got two more ladies in the building. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name's Maya, just part of the family, having conversation, get it going with, yo.
There you go.
So we have an anonymous character in the building right now.
Yes.
Just in case the FBI is listening, you already. Already, so as you know, Talking But Ain't Saying Nothing, we be coming up with some great topics, and it has been a while because, lately the topics have been lacking because it's been mainly just a lot of white noise out there, a lot of stuff that they be throwing at you all over the news, all over the social media, and it's pretty much trying to take your attention off of what's really going on. I don't know if y'all ever heard Nick Cannon is having another baby after he just buried his last baby. That's something everybody's bringing up.
I watch a show in the mornings when it come on.
Yeah. So they also got what else was going on? They was talking about what else happened in the news? Everybody was just talking about recent. The shooting. You had another shooting in Minnesota. Another young black man lost his life sleeping in his own house. I told y'all it's illegal to live here. Y'all thought it was bullshit. And I ain't trying to make it light, but this is real shit. You know what I'm saying? Just got to understand where you at. But it's just a whole bunch of noise going on, especially with the vaccines and stuff. But we were just having a good I was just listening to a great conversation. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily about the vaccines, but it's about healthcare in general. And we was talking about the test, being a subject in the case study. Well, they come up with these new medications, these new vaccines, these new whatever you have, wherever they have you, and you. Do you want to be that person that actually take this experimental medication that has not only been not approved by the FDA, but the FDA don't even know about it yet? And this is sound like some shady, dark magic type shit. Some dark scientists trying to take over the world type shit. That's not my opinion. It's just what I'm just looking at right now because it's a great conversation that they was having. So we're going to go ahead and let them continue that. So we have Miss Anonymous over here talking about they are never, ever going to be put in a position where they have to take a medication that nobody knows anything about, let alone the medication that they know about, because we still don't know about the medication. That's why they call it practicing medicine. And then we have, I'm sorry,
Curtis.
Okay, I just want to make sure you gave your real name.
Yeah.
I have a bad habit of that. Motherfucker be like, yo, man, you gonna call me E-Dub in this motherfucker? Okay, hey, Edward. I'm like, shit, nigga, that's the police listening to you now. Anyway, Curtis over here brought up some good points, you know what I'm saying? How are we gonna know that this medication works if nobody tries it, I guess you call that home of the brave, because I be damned. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm gonna go ahead and... Miss Anonymous, we're gonna call you Anonymous. Anonymous, give your case again about why you feel like it's just suicidal to put yourself in that position.
Because you know nothing about it. Number one, your government made it. Number two, they killing anybody and everybody anyway. Number three, I'm a homicidal person. I'm not going to help you kill me. Okay, I'm not suicidal.
Yeah. Right.
I know nothing about this. I have allergies anyway, so my 3 allergies are the main 3 that they put in every medicine out there. 1, 2, or all 3 of them. And that's Tylenol, aspirin, or sulfa. So it's like, No, I'm not finna be nobody's guinea pig to test and see if something's gonna work for a disease or element that I don't even have.
Okay. I feel that. Now, how do you feel about the information that they do provide you whenever they come to people or they have these tests? They actually put them in these scientific journals, and then what's the tabloids that they put them in to get people to sign up?
Yeah, so basically what ends up happening is there's a lot of websites, journals, etc., in which they do a recruiting campaign. Right? So you can actually go to a website, and if you tried to Google and you tried to say case study for depression, you could Google that. It'll end up taking you to various sites in which are trying to recruit you into these case studies. Whenever you apply to a case study via email normally, then they return back and say, we would like you to go to the medical facility here in such and such a place in your local area if one is available, right? You end up going there and they put you through an evaluation. These things are normally like a 3-step evaluation, going through interviews, your medical history, your current state of mind, etc. Then you end up, if you are selected, right? Normally, depending upon the case study, what kind of stuff that they're dealing with, whether it's depression, anxiety, whether it's a current disease, whether it's something to deal with AIDS, whatever the case may be. They have to bring in a certain number of people to be allowed to continue on with the case.
But they're supplying you with all the information that
yes,
they have.
And then you have to sign a waiver. You do have to sign a waiver, which along the lines basically says you understand the risks that you're ended up taking. You are being compensated in exchange for these risks.
Now, Anonymous, how do you feel about the information?
I'm not going to pay you to kill me.
But basically,
so you don't trust the information that they have on the website. That's what you're saying. Like they say they saying that this pill has no side effects. They just want to make.
And I'm going to ask somebody who actually has that disease or element that actually takes it.
Right.
How does it affect them? Because the people that is testing it, they're not even diagnosed with what they're simply taking this medicine for. No.
Well, a lot of these times, what you're looking at, right?
But look though. But see, you sign the waiver. Okay, some people end up needing the medication that they find out, but at the same time, as you are taking this and it is getting in your system and your body is getting used to it, some of those side effects could have you thinking or having you ended up actually need that medication because why your body had gotten used to it.
So there's pros and cons to the system that exists. One is extremely exploitive. What it is rich people, for example, and their children do not sign up for these tests. It's primarily targeted towards the poor. Why? They say, hey, we'll give you $1,200 to $1,500 in order to join this case study. And if you do, you end up being able to make enough money to pay your bills, right? So it's out of desperation that people try this. The positive side is we need medications, we need studies, we need to know what these side effects are, and we won't find out how it impacts people, their bodies, their chemistry, and the probabilities in which it does it without people playing guinea pig. It's a sad reality that we have set up, and because we're in a capitalist system and people are poor, that is the target audience. The target audience is the poor. On top of that, most of the people who are sick are the poor. You can't properly afford medication, you're going through depression, here's an opportunity to get free medical care from actual doctors.
Would you consider that a manipulative act?
Oh, absolutely. It's meant there to exploit and manipulate poor people into risking death for meager amounts of money. But we also need the data to save lives.
So ethics goes out the window.
Oh, absolutely. But we're not in an ethical system. So basically they're saying, hey, you're really poor. Are you willing to risk death or some side effects or potentially damaging yourself? And in exchange for that risk, you will get 6 months, because what you normally get afterwards as a reward is 6 months of free medical treatment from experts. On top of the results of finding out whether you took a placebo. They reveal that to you at the end. Normally, if it's a double-blind study, they don't even know whether you got the placebo either. Or if you got the real medication. This tells them whether their medication actually works or if it's a psychological effect of people thinking they got the medication and start feeling better. It can get them information about the diseases. So there's a lot of positive, but there's clear exploitation. But we are in an exploitative system. A lot of these people who join case studies, they're just desperate. They're desperate for money. They're desperate for the medical help. They hope that this medication will give them treatment because they can't afford to get the medication that already exists on the market. They're too poor.
You think that's why because this is a manipulative system from the jump, that's the reason why most people that do not get into it, that's the reason that they look at history, they see how history was, and they don't want to be a part of that. Is that what you think? That's what it is? But most people.
I don't know about most people. I know about me.
Right.
I would say turn it off.
Hey, there's things going on. Shh. You're disturbing my thought. You're disturbing my thought. Just lost my train of thought.
Well, then I'll lead you back into
Okay.
it. All right.
No.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay, so, yeah, I know about me. The main thing, I was listening to everything you said, but the main thing that stuck out, you're talking about the people that's giving me this medicine don't even know if I'm sitting up there getting a double blind test and I'm getting a medicine or not. Why would I do that? If you don't know what you're giving me, I really don't know what I'm taking. Why would I do that?
That is actually, no, but
why would I do that?
It brings up a good question because you watch these movies, and I know Hollywood and science is two totally different things.
Right.
But you see, like the Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk was a scientist that chose to experiment on himself. Why don't we see these scientists experimenting on themselves or getting their loved ones? Why are they going out getting people who they are not even emotionally attached to?
Well, that's exactly it.
Because they don't want to kill their people.
They're not the working poor. They're not the one who needs to be exploited for it. They're hired and or part of the pharmaceutical industry in order to, A, recruit, bring in the poor, offer incentives.
But wouldn't that take that system away?
If
you
they
won't
did
need
it
to
on
exploit
themselves?
nobody. Yeah, you wouldn't need to exploit nobody if you talk to your own family about being into this society. I mean,
well, even at that point, if you're experimenting on your own family, right, then we have to ask, why do we have to experiment on people to get data, and why are we volunteering our families, right? Now, if everybody's taken care of and given proper health care, preventative health care, right, to where we don't let people build up all of these issues that they're building up because they're afraid to go to a doctor and go bankrupt, because of the things that they consume, just because of the nature of the environment that you're in that destroys your body, your mind, etc., right? Homelessness, mental health crisis, all these kinds of things.
But we're not living in a universal healthcare system, so that kind of beats the purpose.
And that's the reason why we have predatory healthcare. Unless we make some kind of change.
Oh yeah, that's
what is the motivating factor is, first we need to see if this works, and if it does work, how can we profit off of it?
And again, why not sit up there and test it on your family members instead of picking somebody else?
It would be fantastic, but that's not going to happen.
I look at it this way. It's your family members that sit up there boasting you up, supporting you, and talking about, yes, it does work. I guarantee. I guarantee.
Your college graduation. They was there when you got your PhD and your master's. So they should be there when you got that needle.
They don't have to. And the reason they don't have to is they already got health care. They're already wealthy. If you are a scientist sitting in the pharmaceutical industry and you are bringing people in, you're not making $30,000 a year. You're making $100,000 a year. And you are working in an industry where you are going to get fantastic health care. And that's the reason why they're not the target audience. Because if you go up to somebody who's doing fine, if you go up to somebody who's got money, got health care, and you say, would you like to be a guinea pig in our study for $1,200? They'll be like, what the fuck's $1,200 to me? It's nothing. If you go to a poor person and you offer $1,200 and they ain't making rent today, they're feasting.
So, which brings up a real good question because, you know, universal health care used to be on the table right before, all the way up until the 2020 election.
Right.
After that 2020 election, how much have we heard about it?
Unless you're talking about people along the lines of Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, Nina Turner, people along those lines that lean what they call progressive, you don't hear shit about it. And a lot of the people who claim within the Democratic Party, for example, Hillary Clinton, back when she was running against Obama, she dissed Obama, saying, hey, how could you be a Democrat and not be for universal health care? That was one of the ways she was trying to undercut him. Turn around and then she disses Bernie Sanders, saying, how could you be for universal health care? This shit don't work.
Hypocritical.
It's absolutely about political expedience, exploitation, and just opportunism, period. So are we going to get a universal health care system? Not unless the people are willing to rise up. And we tried to do it nicely with Bernie Sanders. We tried. But the problem was, Bernie Sanders was no hero. He was a man who started his campaign with 16 people on the lawn in front of the bridge where he marched with Martin Luther King. That was it. And then he blew up into a rock star to where girls were taking cardboard cutouts of him to prom. He blew up into a rock star. Why? Because he just said the shit that we needed to hear. He just said the shit that resonated with us and would have been good for us. And it wasn't even something that was like, destroy capitalism, destroy this, destroy that. All he was saying is, people are hungry, we need to feed them.
Right.
Kids need taken care of. We need roof over our heads. We're being exploited by the rich. The money's there. We're the wealthiest country in the world. Why don't we have universal health care? And everybody's like, yeah, we're hurting. Thanks for saying that. And that's how a 70-plus-year-old man, this old-ass man, all of a sudden, is the hottest thing around.
And
but
he was
then
fighting for that for a long
He was, since he was young. But then he tries to work within the system. He tries to play fair in a system that is not fair. They moved the goalposts. They changed the rules. And then eventually made him bend the knee. And then we bring in people like AOC. We're like, AOC, you're going to come fight for us, right? Betrays us. When it comes down to it, she calling Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear, right? She ends up supporting the Bolivian coup and taking a photo op with them. Like, these kind of things are just disgraceful.
Yep.
And it just demonstrates that unless we're willing to be aggressive, we are not going to get it. We can't play nice. Now, Nina Turner, she's going to be running for election again. She ended up losing the emergency election. She was Bernie's right hand, strong black woman. Really great woman, right? She's as radical as it gets amongst the nice people. Without screaming revolution and instead saying political revolution,
right.
She's as radical as it basically gets. They depict her and smear her as an angry black woman. This is just an angry black woman, but she cares. But because of Bernie's betrayal, that momentum's been lost. At his peak, he could have just left, brought millions with him, started his own party, and given the middle finger. Instead, he played nice.
Do you think that even with universal health care that would even change the fact that people would want to? I mean, just the money alone. People are very opportunistic. Why am I fighting with that word? Mm-hmm. But people are automatically opportunistic, and they're going to see $1,500. Well, you ain't even got to give that much. You can give $500 at that point because you're getting free health care already.
I joined a case study because I needed the money. Absolutely. I was sitting there. They were like, hey, $1,500 for a case study. And I was like, I didn't have proper health care. I was dealing with depression. There was a depression case study. I used it to my advantage. I said, this is going to give me health care. This is going to give me, and it was a low-risk medicine. They were basically altering one that already exists.
Right.
So the probability of it damaging me was significantly less than if it's like, here's a brand new, completely unknown medicine. And since I knew that, I went ahead and took the risk, got $1,500, ended up, taking care of my family better. Would universal health care prevent this? No, we still need case studies, we still need these things, and there's still economic disparity, right? But universal health care will help us minimize the amount of illnesses and ailments among the average person, and with that, there will be less despair overall, but there's still going to be despair. It's a multifaceted issue. It requires us to have massive economic and political redistribution of power. And until that ends up happening, whether it's the medical industry, whether it's the housing industry,
right.
Whatever industry it is, it's going to be exploitative. That's just the mentality of our economic policy.
Yep, because you're going to find it all over the world, but it's only going to be in the places where the United States has been. They're the only ones that actually...
But I get all that, and I understand that, and all at the same time, again...
You're not going to be the guinea pig.
No. I'm not. Because all that is good. Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree with universal health care because you do need it. Mm-hmm. And people are sick. Because, like you said, don't bitch, moan, and complain because you don't have health care, you can't afford it, but at the same time, when they want to give you free health care, you want to fight against it. That makes no damn sense to me. And again, if these doctors are up there doing these tests and these little case studies, looking for the guinea pigs, like I said, I'm going to go to a member in your family, and I'm going to sit there and just ask the question. Then it's going to turn into a debate. Then they're going to argue with me saying, no, it's guaranteed. Okay, I'm going to be like, well, you know what? Have you took it? No, why not?
Is there a specific medication you're talking about that you're considering?
It don't matter. All of them.
All of them?
It don't matter. Which one? It does not matter.
All right.
I was on all of them before, man. It was not a good feeling, All of them I think it's, what is all of them? All of them is like an upper, ain't it?
For me, I take so many medications.
But I'm saying like this: if you are sitting up there campaigning so hard behind this medication, and because your uncle or your dad or your brother-in-law or somebody, he made it or discovered it, this, that, and the other, you campaigning so hard behind this damn shit. Okay, I have doubts behind it. I have questions, but you're campaigning so hard behind it. Why you scared to take it? Why won't you take it? So don't get me and my damn family members because you don't want yours to turn around and die or end up sick, even though they might help it. That's a 50-50 thing. Why don't you risk it on your damn family? You're the one campaigning so hard for it.
Yeah. So there's things like Oxy, for example. Some people know this, some people don't. Basically, for medications, opioids specifically, things like Oxy. The pharmaceutical industry is near $1 trillion industry. Like it's up there. Yeah, it's big bucks. So Oxy, whenever it came out, it actually ended up paying doctors to push exorbitant amount of medications on people. In fact, there was one study in a town where there was more Oxy circulating than there was to medicate the population of that town, which ended up creating massive addiction and disparity. And it's intentional. Right. It's for sales. It's to make money. They ended up getting caught. There was a huge lawsuit, but they still exist, right? And that's what led to the opioid epidemic. They are guilty, period. And the families that made a lot of money off of it got heavily fined, but that's what we do. What if you ended up making $100 billion off of something, and they take $25 billion from you, slap you on the wrist, but don't put you in prison, don't take your company away from you, don't get the shit off the market, they allow it to continue to circulate and harm? $25 billion ain't shit to them.
That's because they got they cut and they're sitting up there. They done joined in. Yeah, they was already in on it. They just got mad because they didn't get their cut off the damn top. So like I said, it's a big fat CO conspiracy. They're all in on it, and I'm not going to be their damn guinea pig. No, you got me fucked up.
Pfizer is set to make $52 billion this year.
Yeah,
there's
alone.
Profit about
now,
it.
this is the funny part because a lot of people are like, the vaccine is free. You need to just go down. It's not costing you anything. Where the hell is this $52 billion coming from?
So
and exactly.
So basically, what happens is COVID happened, right? When COVID happened, this is potential profit. No matter what the crisis is, whether it was COVID or something else, a crisis, a capitalist or a company or whoever will turn around and say, how can we profit off of this? So they turn around and say the government is going to need to massively distribute these things. We want the exclusive contract. So Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Pfizer. They're in a race to see who can get this contract, who becomes the main one, because whoever does gets massive exorbitant profits. Johnson & Johnson tried to go a different route. They said, we're going to market that you only need one shot. That's going to be our pitch. Yes, it's less effective, etc. What ended up happening is not only was it only in the 80% compared to the 90% with the others for protection, the biggest thing was it was a 0.022%, so 0.02% chance for 3 or so months later to allow for blood clotting unrelated to COVID to kill you. So this ended up happening, which now the United States is like, this one's not going to win it. No one trusts it. Pfizer ends up on top. Moderna has...
Send it to Africa.
That's what they did.
All the more reason I'm not finna be your guinea pig. See what I'm talking about?
So they did send it to Africa. So what they said is, okay, we are pushed out of the market here in America. None of the people want us, but we made this product and we need to make money. Where can we go? So now we're going to be the African vaccine. So they're out of the U.S. market, now they're in another market. And that's what this is. This is about profit. Is it important?
It's a distraction from what the hell is really going on with your damn government and the United States. That's all this shit is.
Oh, there's tons of different things for distractions.
Of course.
Not just...
This is the main one, though, because it's affecting the whole world.
Now,
it is.
Before we go any further, I do want to say we got to take a break and hear from our sponsors real quick. But when we come back, I want to actually talk to y'all about the fact that, well, this was at the beginning of the pandemic. Tanzania president ended up testing certain items that weren't human with the COVID test, and they came back all positive. So I want to get y'all thoughts about that in just a moment. So we'll be right back after we have a moment from word from our sponsor. You heard me? Already. So you know we are back. This is your boy, Mr. E Boss of the Southside Boss is putting it down for BOSS Radio. You know what I'm saying? This is talking but ain't saying nothing. We got going live right now with Curtis and Anonymous, and we talking about pretty much the medical industry. Before we went on break, and y'all heard from our sponsors, I asked them a question about about Tanzania's president. He blamed the fake positive test and the spike on coronavirus. And if you know about this story, it actually came out in May 11, 2020, whenever the test first came out. When they tested certain items, such as a fruit, they tested a goat, I believe, and they tested some other things that just weren't human, and they came back positive. Every last one of them came back positive. And that kind of added to what people were saying was a conspiracy. I just want to get y'all thoughts about that. We'll start with Anonymous. What you got? What you think about that?
So the vaccine from over here, he took it over there and tested it on animals?
No, not the vaccine, but the test. The COVID test. Not the actual vaccine.
Okay.
Before the vaccine actually came out. But they came out with the test, and then they sent it over there to Tanzania. And he tested it on a goat, a fruit.
Okay, well, to me, what I think about that is it just shows the ways it can easily be transported. So therefore, with that, you pretty much can figure out how everything is getting passed around, this and the other than the fact people going back and forth from country to country. Okay, so it's in the foods, it's in the water, it's in the air. So he tested things that are not damn human. So those things that are not human, which we sit up there and consume, was already positive. So therefore, it's like, okay.
Now this is where the science comes in. The science comes in at the fruit. Now some animals have what they call reservoirs, where they can actually carry the virus with them, but they can't actually come up positive because they're just carrying the virus. They're not actually infected with the virus. And then you have fruit, which cannot carry a virus. It can carry a virus, but it cannot carry the coronavirus. It cannot come up as positive. There was all false positive. There was other things. I'm going to find out exactly. I'm going to pull them up. But I'm going to tell you what the other things that he tested in just a moment. But right now, just with that information, they was pretty much trying to say that they was making everybody have COVID.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, what's your thoughts about that?
That's some bullshit.
And the fruit was a pawpaw.
Okay. Was it who?
It was a pawpaw. That's the name of the fruit.
Okay.
And that apparently was supposed to came up positive for COVID. So
I have to cut my part short.
Time to end it.
Yeah, because I have to, my ride is getting ready to leave. I had to turn around and come back and get me.
Already. Well, what about you, Curtis? What's your thoughts about that?
So while I don't know that specific testing, what I can use as an example is because of chemical reactions and so on and so forth, depending upon the makeup, you can get a lot of false positives, especially when organisms that are not chemically what you're supposed to be testing on will end up creating a different reaction that's not expected from the test because it was designed to be tested on humans. Now, there is precedence for false positives of ridiculous proportions in working with plants, for example, due to the differences in us and plants and chemical reactions. For example, the lie detector test. So one of the most famous lie detector test experiments to show that it was basically unreliable was a man tied a lie detector test to a plant and asked it questions. And the lie detector test detected that the plant was lying.
Yeah, they do that.
Yep. So
I know for a fact.
That's the thing is because the spikes and the various things that are anticipated are meant to be utilized on humans, as well as the factors in which we go through. Everybody stresses over different things for different reasons. Which causes different chemical reactions, sparks in our neurological changes. So with this, you could get false positives. That's why, just an advisory, If they ever ask you to take a lie detector test to prove your innocence, never do it. Just period, end of sentence. Because you can end up getting a false positive relatively easily, even if it's just because you're nervous, not because you're a liar. And they can use that against you in court.
And will.
Yes, so never ever take a lie detector test. That is my advisory to that. But that's an example, is it basically said these plants are lying. So in the same way with the COVID test, it's very unlikely because of the nature of COVID that they want to infect everybody with it. You have to look when it comes to a conspiracy, which some are true. MK Ultra is true.
Right.
Sorry, everybody, that's a reality. A conspiracy that turned out to be true. And our government's untrustworthy, which gives us the reason to believe any conspiracy. A rule of thumb, whatever you think that the government is doing terrible, it's something worse. But it allows us to lead to outlandish things. But when it comes to giving everybody COVID, it goes against the motivation of the people who are seeking to exploit you. They want money, which means they want you to work. COVID killing off a bunch of workers means there's less workers. If there are less workers, then they can't drive the prices down for wages because there's less people to say, hey, I can get rid of you, you're just a number. Somebody's waiting over there to replace you. And instead, all of the transportation systems and distribution networks and everything are being shut down, which is affecting profits. If they're losing money, then it's likely that they don't want it.
Okay, and I can feel that. That was actually something that was brought up to my attention before. But then you have to remember that Pfizer is set to make $52 billion this year. Do you think they care about the restaurant industry? Do you think they care about the retail industry?
Pfizer doesn't.
That was. But I'm not saying that they had a hand in getting the. It's very convenient that you know what I'm saying they was perfectly positioned for that. But I'm not going to sit here and say that they had a hand in the virus being released into the world.
Right.
But I can sit here and say I can make a very good argument for that case if I wanted to.
For specific industries. The problem is, normally the bigwigs, the capitalists, not your common man's business.
Right.
But the bigwigs, they have an agreement amongst each other.
Right.
And that agreement is, we're all going to be rich, we're all going to stay rich, and so long as we don't tread on each other's turf, we won't fuck with each other.
Right.
Right? So it's just the rich staying richer. It's the same family names sticking around generation after generation. 60% of all wealth is inherited. This is reality. But Pfizer, yes, they're taking advantage of a terrible situation and they're profiting massively off of it. But other industries in which major capitalists are a part of this agreement of cooperation of staying wealthy and powerful are the losers in this. And if it was found that Pfizer was doing something to continuously hurt their industry, well, what would happen is what happened to a Canadian billionaire in the pharmaceutical industry. He retired along with his wife in Canada after just making billions upon billions of dollars. Corrupt man. And when he left, he apparently pissed off somebody else in one of the industries. What happened was, him and his wife were assassinated one night in their highly secure mansion. The police come in and say this was a professional hit job amongst somebody that is untraceable. It's over. And that was the end of the investigation because you can't catch a man like this.
Push it on Interpol and hopefully they get...
These assassins still exist.
Oh, yeah.
But they're not people that we get to get a hold of.
No.
They're the billionaires' assassins. And because of that, if a billionaire crosses another billionaire and really hurts that industry, they'll just be killed. In the same way that someone like JFK would be killed, in the same way that MLK would be killed, in the same way that Brother Malcolm or anybody else who gets in the way and or causes a problem for anybody. And even if they aren't the ones that pull the trigger, they'll apply it.
But wouldn't that be what would make it so convenient that there was a reporter who just so happened to release the virus into... I mean, I know they still say that there's an investigation, but the reporter at the very beginning of this whole... When it was just an epidemic, before it was a pandemic, when they reached it over here in January of 2020, the end of 2019, they was talking about there was a reporter because he released a video and he was even contained detained and actually contained because he was exposed to the virus, so they had to contain him. And then after that, like I think it was in the middle of 2020 or the beginning of 2021, they had to release him.
Okay.
So they released him, and he has not been heard from ever since. I'm not saying that he's dead, but
journalists get killed all the time. For example, the rather famous one that we ended up seeing was in Saudi Arabia, right? There was a journalist that made very bad reports about
Ashganov.
I don't remember his name. He was the one who got chopped into pieces.
Right.
Yeah, and the United States was supposed to be pissed about it. However, we have multi-billion-dollar weapons contracts with Saudi Arabia. We're not about to throw that away for a journalist.
Don't do that again.
Yes, please don't do that again.
Please
don't. And if you're going to kill a journalist, please do better at keeping it a secret.
Ask us for help next time.
Yes, and I mean, this it's not like this is uncommon. I mean, under Trump, we tried to assassinate Nicolas Maduro several times. Before that, we've had tons of assassinations, whether it was Gaddafi being killed over in Libya, whether it was Obama's attempt to invade and help in Syria in order to get rid of Assad, whether it's going back a little farther, Patrice Lumumba of Congo, the Congolese, in which Dwight Eisenhower, before JFK would come into office, because JFK was considering, hey, we might work with Patrice Lumumba.
Right.
So before JFK could take office, Dwight Eisenhower had him kidnapped, assassinated, melted down, his bones ground, let some time pass, and gives a public apology. You can see it on the CIA website, their apology for assassinating Patrice Lumumba decades later.
I'm just surprised they actually admitted to it.
Well, yeah, basically, they're idiots. A lot of people like to believe that the United States government or the police or the FBI or the CIA are these all-knowing beings who can solve anything and find you so easily and do all of this kind of stuff, when in actuality they're human beings like me and you, and they make dumbass mistakes. In fact, when JFK lost the Bay of Pigs invasion against Cuba, they asked, what would you tell your future president? What advice would you give him? And he said, the first thing I would tell him is don't believe that military leaders know what the fuck they're talking about simply because they're military leaders.
Right.
The CIA has made tons of mistakes. In fact, we're all probably laughing right now because there was tons and tons of, I believe, cocaine that just got picked up off the shores and caught. And you know this is likely the CIA. So now the CIA gets busted by their own mechanisms.
They didn't even pass that along to the Border Patrol.
Yep. So these things exist. Sadly, we are in an insanely corrupt world of profiteering. A lot of people like to praise their oppressors. For example, Elon Musk, right? Everybody's like, oh, this guy's amazing. Oh, he's so wonderful. He's a self-made man. This man's father was an apartheid freaking emerald mine owner. That's where his wealth comes from. This is not a self-made man. This is not some great entrepreneur. This is a man who got his wealth and his opportunities handed to him and built upon off the blood of Africans. Period. But you see everybody praising him nonstop. This is a brilliant man. He's bringing us electric cars. As if no one could... Africans can bring us electric cars if they have education and technology, right?
Yeah, and they actually do have the technology over there, but since they don't have the funding... They can't get any. Don't nobody want to acknowledge them.
Right.
Matter of fact, they even one thing. I'm glad you brought that up about Elon Musk and the electric vehicles, because in the infrastructure bill, Joe Biden, whatever his name is.
Yeah, he can't remember anything.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's why I can't remember. But he's got Ford and GM actually at the table talking to them about releasing electric vehicles, and Elon is feeling snubbed about that.
Right.
I'm weirded out about that as well, because even though he has his history, and I'm the first one to tell you it's all about your history, but that wouldn't really necessarily rub Biden the wrong way. So I'm really worried. What is it exactly that he don't like Elon?
Oh, I think it's relatively simple. If you look at his track record, right? So how good is Ford and GM, despite the fact that Ford was a Nazi supporter, etc.? These companies, how consistent have they been around the years? They're still around after decades upon decades, going through World War II, various other things. They have an established track record, including being able to exploit workers and push them to the brink and still stand tall.
Right.
Elon Musk has tons of failed companies. Sure, Tesla does all right. But he's got too many to count. This man will just start a company, throw money at it and American subsidies at it, and watch it fail and say, well, that was fun, let me open up another one. He can't be taken seriously to have a serious government contract for the entire infrastructure of the United States of America. These other companies have a consistent track record. They know they can rely upon them. They're not going to like willy-nilly some shit and then decide I'm gonna tank this and now go make a tunnel for transportation.
Now, to be fair, Henry Ford himself was also known for being a very adventurous guy himself. Mm-hmm. He when NASCAR was getting to that point where it was in its brink. I don't know if it was the 30s, 40s, 50s. It was back then because they got a movie about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I caught a glimpse of the movie. Don't get me wrong. Right. If it wouldn't have been for me having some previous, not in-depth knowledge of the history of Ford, but knowing about what happened in the movie, you know what I'm saying? I was able to piece together exactly what was going on.
I hate the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
like you say, he was a Nazi. He was a Nazi supporter.
Sympathizer, and he would, along with Walt Disney, helped smuggle funds and weapons for the Nazi campaign. They would have loved to see Nazism catch up in America.
So what I'm thinking isn't Elon like a pretty much a Ford reincarnated?
He would be like Ford, just excessive, right? Just booming, ridiculous. You gotta remember, Elon says, I want internet on Mars. Elon says, let me build this crazy tunnel transportation system. Let me do flamethrowers. Let me do, I have a chimp in which I put a brain chip in. Like, this man's all over the place.
I'm looking at Henry, though. I feel like if he would have had access to the same technology, he would have been doing the same exact thing. And there's no telling because back then they kept records, but they didn't keep records to what we can see. So there's no telling if he even had any hand in getting Elon that technology.
Potentially that could have been the way, except for history happened to not play out that way. As you said, technology wasn't available there. We could play what ifs. But the reality is that the Ford company has been consistent. As a company, GM has been consistent. And because of these things, that consistency, not even quality, but consistency, is what the American government is looking for the infrastructure. So they'll take something of a lesser quality, while Elon Musk might say, let's have space-age roads.
Right.
He would want to experiment. America doesn't want to experiment. America just wants basic standard things to get people off their fucking backs.
Something that way that because people, especially the American people, they're simple.
Yep.
And if you can't keep it simple, it's they don't want to have nothing. If you have to explain it, they don't want to listen.
Yep.
And that's why you have marketing firms.
Right.
And that's why marketing firms is a fucking multi-billion-dollar industry because of the fact, how can I sell this to somebody?
Absolutely. That's the reason why capitalists have outdone socialists for the last, 50, 60 years on propaganda. Back in the day, we were great at propaganda. I say because I am socialist. So we used to be great. Pamphlets going around. Like I said a while back in a conversation we had, Ho Chi Minh was working, I believe, in New York as a dishwasher or something along those lines. He ends up getting a socialist pamphlet, ends up taking that back to Vietnam, kicks our ass, and they become more socialist.
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to bleep that out because you can't say the United States lost that war. Them motherfuckers just say, it was a draw. It was no, motherfucker. You went over there for a mission. You didn't accomplish your mission. You
lost. We lost that one, and that's why we had Grenada, real quick, to be like, hey, let's go in here. Let's hand out more medals than in any war ever for a nothing campaign to celebrate we are awesome after getting an ass whooping. That was the whole point of that. Was just like we were embarrassed. But yes, it's just about the consistency. That's the motivation. Elon Musk is too erratic. He's too unpredictable. I personally, I hate Ford, I hate Elon Musk. I'm definitely, being a socialist myself, on the side of the working poor, the working class.
Now, I want to bring up something that you were talking about in the conversation that we had earlier, and it actually, it's very... To me, I don't want to. It's like contradicting views because so just hear me out.
Okay.
AI. Mm-hmm. Think about how we got technology to this day. Mm-hmm. you needed capitalism in order to get the most intriguing technology that we have. Not for every technology. There was no capitalism when they invented the wheel, thankfully. Because, boy, we'd probably be... You imagine if capitalism was here and we invented the wheel, we'd still be walking right now. Right. Shit. But there was all this other technology. Like, look at the space race right now. The space race is simply these men got their money from capitalism. And if it wouldn't have been for them getting their money from capitalism, we wouldn't be having a private space race. Do you think we could get an AI system without capitalism or without that competition?
Okay, so if we look at history, right, before capitalism was even invented, countries and civilizations that weren't even in contact with each other, with various different cultures and ways of structuring societies and living, all were developing mathematics. Mm-hmm. That means that whatever your culture, whatever your society, whatever its structure, capitalist or not, innovation seems to be embedded, that motivation seems to be embedded in humanity, period. It's in our nature. To pursue, to find, to discover, to invent. Capitalism or no capitalism, there will be progress. Now, when you want to talk about the space race, the first satellite put into orbit, the Soviets. Uh-huh. The first person in space, the Soviets. The first spacewalk, Soviets. The first woman in space, Soviets. The first landing on the moon, Soviets. They put tools on the moon before we did. The only thing that we ever accomplished was to try and one-up and say, we put a living person on the moon. So we win.
We stole mankind.
Yeah, we stole a lot of technology from Germany, hiding German Nazi scientists, and saying, we will allow you to avoid persecution in exchange for coming over here and helping us. Why? We wanted to recruit talent. Why? Because capitalism doesn't necessarily create that talent. And in fact, we destroy a lot of potential by keeping all of these children and people and families who could be the next Einsteins crushed under the boot in which could have allowed them to prosper instead. We keep the same families in power, but when we crush other nations, if we see some talent that we can hijack real quick, we take them. So would innovation exist in a system outside of capitalism? Absolutely. In fact, in what it took for capitalism in 100 plus years to do, the Soviets did in 30 to 40. So we already know other systems can do it and do it faster and do it with more consistency. However, the question is, in a world economy with military threats and pressures from all ends, with sanctions and embargoes and assassinations, capitalism right now chokes out any place who tries to do anything different. They are the power structure.
Right.
So unless that change, anybody who tries to come up and do something different, it's going to get crushed.
Now, before we actually, because it's about to get come to the end of the hour.
All right.
With this AI, because this is what I actually want to end it off on.
All right, I love AI, so we can talk about AI.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna let you talk about AI.
All right.
But so pretty much what I'm saying is, almost done. That you had a very good idea of how a lot of these problems could be eradicated. We don't have to ever worry about them again. And it involved having AI. And for those out there that don't know what AI is, that's artificial intelligence. For those that don't have the intelligence to realize what artificial intelligence is, Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Anyway,
there's info out there.
Yeah, exactly. But how would you consider? Like, I want you to break that down to me. How would you consider it a safe haven, a godsend, to say the least?
All right, so a lot of this is my personal beliefs, just period. I'll go ahead and put that caveat out there. I believe that, for one, humanity is at a very high probability, one way or another, going to go extinct. As Stephen Hawking and others, scientists, came together and wrote a letter to the United Nations saying that the greatest threat to extinction for humanity is artificial intelligence before he had passed. That's because, in a lot of ways, because our rulers are idiots and old people, etc.
Don't be nice.
They aren't ready for it. They thought Facebook was an actual book. They're idiots. So because of that, we're not really ready for regulating such technology. But that aside, if we do not embrace things like artificial intelligence or hybridization with technology, we're doomed to extinction. So will AI bring about potential extinction? Maybe. But without embracing it, we're doomed to extinction. So it's worth the risk. Now, if we cautiously deal it can solve tons of issues. Right now, as I talked about before, we have over 400 members of the House of Representatives. We have 100 senators. We have various committees on the high end. Any of you out there that are listening, can you name 5 people in the House of Representatives? Probably not. You're probably going to have to Google it. You're probably going to have to Google your own state's members of House of Representatives. Same thing for Senate. You get 2 per state. You probably don't know who they are. The average person doesn't anyways. So good on you if you do. But
you voted.
Yep, but it's a shit ton of bureaucracy. It is biased. It is corruptible. It is bribable, etc. So even if you had a righteous person at the top, once he's gone, welcome to corruption. So with AI is something that you can't bribe. It doesn't give a damn about your money, right? It can process trillions of times faster than we can. So that means that it can take all the information, ideas of architecture, landscaping, whatever the case may be, technology, and advancements and potential paths, process it in milliseconds, and spit out high probability of success plans for us to choose from and embrace for creating a better society. It will eliminate the flawed mentality of many, many representatives just sitting there with bias, being bribed and lobbied towards to turn to profiteering. It will end that corruption and allow us to focus on real advancement. That is the potential of AI. But obviously our leadership can't do it. But you, the people, can end up being educated on it. There will be no stopping and regulating of somebody developing an AI in their garage. This will eventually be a thing. Just like people were talking about, CRISPR and this kind of stuff for genetic manipulation. The reality is, you're not going to be able to stop that.
It's here.
So because of that, I do encourage the people to research, to study, to spread awareness, whether it's AI, revolutionary theory, technology, teach your kids programming, and so on and so forth, and allow them to explore that realm, because in the future, they will build our future if they manage to get power in their hands. And if they understand the technology, maybe we could get such a system going.
All right, I hear you over there, though. As long as we don't turn into Terminator in the Matrix over here.
That's a possibility. That's a possibility.
Hey, as long as it's like the Matrix and not like the Terminator.
Right,
I don't want to be in the Terminator now.
I don't know. We make really terrible batteries. That's the problem.
Well, Curtis, it was a fantastic time talking it up with you, getting some real good knowledge, getting real good information that can actually be utilized. And see, one thing I believe in is that knowledge that can be utilized is technology. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So by absorbing and becoming technology and learning how to utilize technology is something that everybody needs to be able to do, or at least understanding that that's what you do whenever you do take the knowledge that you have and you utilize it. Mm-hmm. A lot of people hear about these conspiracy theories, or I'm not saying conspiracy theories like that's what we was talking about, but they hear about these different aspects that they never heard of before, such as the artificial intelligence, and they don't know how to understand it. And it's great to be able to have somebody to come on that can actually talk about it. And especially, I like how you said, study and show that self-approval. You're going to always be able to figure it out.
Absolutely. It's fear of the unknown is part of it as well. Like, that's a lot of the reason why advancement comes so slow, is part of its bureaucracy, and the other part of it is, for example, therapeutic cloning. That's a thing. They can make a perfect matching heart for you. You don't have to wait for somebody to die and hope that they're a match and hope it doesn't reject in your body. This already exists. It's illegal.
Damn.
Yeah, they don't allow it to do it. They maintain flawed systems. Why? Because people are afraid of it and don't understand it.
Not only that, they can make money off that person.
Yep. Absolutely.
Man, we're going to definitely get you back on this one, man, especially another What Would You Do?
Well, it was definitely a pleasure being on. I enjoyed it.
Anybody you want to give a shout out to? Any projects you want to give a shout out to? Do you want to give awareness to or anything like that before we break off?
Basically, the only thing I'd like to talk about real quick is anybody who is interested in worker co-ops, who is interested in socialist organizations, etc. Richard Wolff, who leads the Democracy at Work movement, is a very important Marxist economist in this day and age. You can end up finding his podcast out there as well. as well as books that he's written. And if you're looking for what modern socialism would look like and business structures in this day and age, look to Richard Wolff as a good line of sight for you.
Already. Y'all heard that here. Richard Wolff and your boy Curtis Reed. Y'all can also find him on Facebook, so y'all make sure y'all look him up. Reach out to him if you definitely are trying to make a change in your community. He can definitely help you get that started, no matter where you're from, no matter where you're living, no matter what you're going through. Y'all make sure it's all about networking. And now you know where to start if you didn't know where to start. Already. Once again, we're going to go ahead and ask y'all to like, subscribe, share, and follow, do all of that stuff, and make sure that everybody else know that you got some great information here. That way they can get the same great information, and because the more that know, the more powerful the people can get back. Because we was powerful at one point. Now it's hard to get that way. But y'all make sure y'all tune in. Turn up Thursday. We'll be having a great interview with Sasik, a great reggae artist that's going to be joining us. She is always putting it down, and we're going to be looking forward to interviewing her. So y'all make sure y'all tune in for that. And if you ain't already followed us, make sure y'all follow us. That way you can get the email for that whenever we go there. Because I'm telling you, you're going to miss it, and you're going to be mad that you missed it, because that's just how it always is. Everybody always trying to worry about what's happening on the other side. So this here is Sasik with New Delhi House here on BOS Says Radio. This is Talking But Ain't Saying Nothing. And we out, baby.
I'm in the mood tonight. No, daddy, I can't work when you feel at work. Busy boy, I figure it up and splurge. Sure. Loving a guan is just a joy. We spend quality time with the boy. Me love the pain, but feel the rain. Like when we a pop a champagne. Come my body ever ready when you get me, happy pet me and cherish me like say me is a pet. When you get me, not regret it. Make sure you have your money, broke man that get me upset. Cause the last boy will look me on a brag and a boss, and him liquor while it's still not ready yet. Feel me body ever ready, and me know me at the base. Only rich man can get me flex. Me love a man who treat me good, protect me like a treasure. Keep me safe through any storm and any weather. Every day him just treat me better and better. Wife's a seek a trendsetter. Him love it when we dance about love can't run out. This is something fit about a body a paradise, ever nice. Good love make him feel nice. Him love it when me dance about love can't run out. This is something fit about a body a paradise, ever nice. Good love make him feel nice. Come my body ever ready when you get me, happy pet me and cherish me like say me is a pet. When you get me, not regret it. Make sure you have your money, broke man that get me upset. Cause the last boy will look me on a brag and a boss, and him liquor while it's still not ready yet. Feel me body ever ready, and me know me at the base. Only rich man can get me flex. Loving a guan is just a joy. We spend quality time with the boy. Me love the pain, but feel the rain. Like when we a pop a champagne. And my body ever ready when you get me, happy pet me and cherish me like say me is a pet. When you get me, not regret it. Make sure you have your money, broke man that get me upset. Cause the last boy will look me on a brag and a boss, and him liquor while it's still not ready yet. Feel me body ever ready, and me know me at the base. Only rich man can get me flex. Me love a man who treat me good, protect me like a treasure. Keep me safe through any storm and any weather. Every day him just treat me better and better. Wife's a seek a trendsetter. Him love it when we dance about love can't run out. This is something fit about a body a paradise, ever nice. Good love make him feel nice. Him love it when me dance about love can't run out. This is something fit about a body a paradise, ever nice. Good love make him feel nice. Come my body ever ready when you get me, happy pet me and cherish me like say me is a pet. When you get me, not regret it. Make sure you have your money, broke man that get me upset. Cause the last boy will look me on a brag and a boss, and him liquor while it's still not ready yet.
BOSS Radio. BOSS Radio. BOSS Radio. BOSS Radio.